Today we're going to do another episode of the Millionaire React series. Now we've been getting a ton of great comments on Instagram about these different stories and they've been really interesting, so let's just get right to it. Am I the asshole for taking money from my husband's savings account?
This doesn't sound good.
I, 27 female, have been with my husband for 8 years and married for 3. We have no children together but plan on trying sometime next year. The thing is, we don't have joint bank accounts. We decided we would each have our own, that way we could keep track of whose money is whose and who could avoid financial issues, even though he has no problem providing for me. At a small get-together planned with an aunt of mine that I hadn't seen in 2 years. Initially, I was going to pay my fare. However, I lost my debit card the night before, which caused me to report it lost. So I could no longer use it at that point and was waiting on a new card. My husband wasn't going to be able to give me a ride to the dinner since he was working, so I took a picture of his card and I saved it on my Uber app, and I took money to pay for my fare there and back and my portion of the dinner. My fare was only $32 there and $46 back, and my meal was only $42. My husband noticed the charges, and when I got home, he told me he was disappointed and hurt that I would do this. He said he's trying to save and it's not about the money but about the principle. He told me that I was a thief and said this says a lot about my character for not asking. I feel we are married and I don't see how he could see things this way. Am I the asshole?
Very interesting scenario. That was a lot, but just to summarize, basically she lost her debit card and she needed a way to get to a dinner with her aunt, so she used her husband's debit card to pay for the Uber rides there, back, and the dinner. But she didn't ask. I think that's where the big problem comes on. Well, because they have separate bank accounts and they've already talked about how this is how they want to structure their marriage, then technically she did break the ground rules by using his money and not her money. However, given the circumstances, and maybe it was like a time thing, maybe she didn't have the time or opportunity to tell him or ask him. And in a marriage, in my opinion, like it's under $150. She didn't really steal. It wasn't like a consistent thing going on and on. It's like a one-time thing, and that's why I don't think it's that big of a deal. She should definitely apologize and ask next time. But overall, that's why we think, at least for us, it's better to have one joint account with combined funds. So yeah, overall, I think what she did was not technically right, but I also think she's being an asshole about it. So I would say not the asshole for this one.
I think that she should have told him beforehand if she could. If she couldn't and it was a time crunch like you mentioned, at least tell him before he found out, kind of thing, right? I think that a simple text would have been okay, and then she could pay him back or something if they really agreed on that arrangement where they were gonna have separate things and whatever. I feel like if they've already had an agreement, you shouldn't break it. I don't think it's an asshole thing either, kind of like what you said. It's she seemed like she had an emergency, but I do feel like she should have said something.
I mean, she already said that her husband was working, and that's why he couldn't give her a ride in the first place. So it seemed like she just didn't have the card right then and there. She had no way to get to where she needed to go. So I mean, what else do you do in that situation, right? You're gonna wait for her permission, and then by the time the dinner's over, right? Some people, they steal tens of thousands of dollars from their spouse's bank account and then they just run off, or they gamble their money away, right? This is a one-time thing. I don't think it's a big deal. Well, if I took $200 from you, I would tell you later, but I wouldn't feel bad taking $200 from you. I wouldn't, it's no, okay, I need it. I'm gonna go somewhere. I don't have my debit card because I reported it stolen. What am I gonna do?
I think it also depends on their current net worth too. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly the specifics here. What if they really don't have enough, right? And then you're taking, and that's a lot for them, right? It really depends. So I'm just gonna say slightly the asshole because she should have said something. She could have said something before he noticed the charges.
And like you said, maybe to us this is a very low number, but maybe to them is a lot. So all of a sudden his wife is going out and spending over $70 on Uber rides, and if they only have $200, then they're gonna be super pissed, right?
Exactly.
Could be that too.
Okay.
Am I the asshole for asking for more money for my car? So I, a 28 male, offered to sell my RAV4 that has 100,000 miles on it in January to my brother and his wife. They have a baby and a beat up Honda Civic, as well as a Scion with way too many miles on it. They shared they'd be car hunting this year. I offered to sell it to them for what Carvana offered, which was $14,500, and they agreed to it right away. The problem was that my wife and I hadn't picked out our replacement car. So they check in every week or so, but we weren't ready. In the end, we decided to hold on to the car until our trip to Disney this past week. I checked Carvana again, and they offered me more. This time, $16,500. I texted my brother telling him he could have it, but he would need to match Carvana's new offer. He responded saying that they're not haggling, and they've been putting off buying a car for months because we thought that we had an agreement and were just waiting on us. They called me an asshole for stringing them along for 3 months and then asking for $2,000 more. I'm just trying to do what's right by my 2 kids and one on the way. Am I the asshole?
I'm gonna say I think he's being the asshole because I feel like you guys already had an agreed number and then you're the one who's putting it off. They're waiting on you. They already made arrangements because of that agreement, and then you're gonna change the number. It makes no sense to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I think it's really a shame to kind of do your own family dirty like that. It's not good.
Yeah, I feel like with family, at least with our family dynamics, it's very shared. It's kind of what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. We have no issues with lending money or giving whatever. There's no issue there.
Right. If anything, you would give your family a discount for having this car.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeping the net worth within the family.
Exactly. So like here, you're even just doing it at the actual price. Like I'd give a discount for sure. Like I would maybe go ahead, you can have it. If I have a replacement car, go ahead. I would just give it to them. So to me, being the asshole.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely being an asshole for asking for more money.
Am I the asshole for saying that my daughter inherits my house no matter what? I'm a single mom in my 50s with one daughter. I got very lucky in that I bought a home in the Bay Area nearly 30 years ago for around $230,000 before the tech boom, and now the house is worth about $1 million. I love that that's like very relevant to us. We're from the Bay Area, so we can totally see that happening. I have a 23-year-old daughter, Camila, who grew up in that house, and she moved out last year to go live with her boyfriend. I've never explicitly told my daughter the house will be yours, nor has she asked anything about it, but just sort of common sense. That's my daughter. Who else would I give it to? One important note, there are 2 homes in the neighborhood that are owned by lower middle class people, me and a neighbor who's been here as long as I have. Otherwise, our neighbors are engineers and software developers. The Bay Area is simply unaffordable if you're not in tech. My daughter is a hairstylist.
Yeah, that's true.
My fiance Steven and I have been together for 2 years. He has 2 young children he has joint custody of, who I adore, and I'm excited to help raise them. Steven and I don't have a ton in the bank, so a prenup seems silly if it weren't for the house. I told him that I'm ready to combine finances and plan long term with him, but I wanted a prenup agreement just for the house. It's a non-negotiable for me that my daughter inherits the house. He wasn't happy with this. He said that $1 million split 3 ways is enough for all 3 kids to get a head start in life. I disagree. I paid 80% of the mortgage by myself, and Camila is my only child. She can have her dream life working as a hairstylist, living in the Bay Area with this house, but will be unhappy, have to move out to a less desirable area if it's split. I spoke to Camila about this. She agrees that she should get the house and said she always planned on inheriting it, just like I always plan on giving it to her.
Yeah, I understand the situation. And I would say also, she is not the asshole here. When you go into a relationship and you already have built-in finances, that's kind of something that you should be able to keep separate from the new relationship, in my opinion at least. And especially since this guy is kind of saying, oh, I want my kids to inherit what you already have promised to your kid, that's kind of strange for this guy to say and to ask for.
Yeah, I agree. They have only known each other or been together for 2 years, and the house was before they got together. So I feel like she was the one putting in the money for this house. Why does she have to give it to this guy? I do think that she's totally being reasonable with the prenup, and we kind of mentioned this before, but like with prenups, you're really protecting yourself if you guys have very different assets. If you guys do have very similar assets, maybe it's not really necessary, but in this scenario, I think it's totally necessary, and I think that she's really thinking about her daughter. She's been a single mom with her daughter, and she already planned this for her. I do think he's being the asshole for doing this.
Yeah, and I think in this situation too, when you pass away and you have to sell your house to split up the assets, it's actually really bad for everyone involved, right? Like if you were able to just hold on to your home, then you can keep the same low property tax rates. I guess like you won't have to be taxed as much either. So it's better to just hold on to the property instead of having to sell it and then split it 3 ways. Everyone pays taxes on it. It's like it's a huge mess. I would say like probably the best thing she could do now is put the house in a trust and then have the daughter be the beneficiary. So when she passes away, she just gets the property right away and it's not even her name anymore.
So in conclusion, the mom is not being an asshole. So we just went over a bunch of stories. They're very interesting.
And if you guys disagree with what we had to say, let us know in the comments down below.
Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell button to be notified of our latest videos, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.